As we all know, No Man's Sky is huge, like really huge, and it is an ever changing game and it's constantly being improved with numerous major updates that are free every year. There are so many features that you can get stuck into with the likes of base building, ship hunting, exploration. They're all guaranteed to take up many hours of your time. And I will preface this video with the fact that I absolutely love this game. The redemption story since its botched launch in 2016 is nothing short of remarkable and unheard of in the gaming industry. But I do feel that a number of the existing systems and features within the game could do with some extra depth to them to make this already great game even better. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck into how Hello Games could go about doing exactly that. There are a wide variety of features in No Man's Sky, ranging from the aforementioned base building and ship hunting to settlement development, freighters and frigates, squadrons, companions, along with many, many more. But, perhaps slightly controversially, a lot of these features are lacking a bit of depth. Now, in the past, I've often described No Man's Sky as being as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle, and a number of people have agreed with me on that in my previous video comments. So, in this video, I've come up with, a number of ways that Hello Games could add significant depth to some of these existing features and have them connect with one another to give us a better sense of progression and a whole connected universe, really. It's also worth me saying before you all start typing angry comments in the comment section that games can be beautiful, vast, and incredibly satisfying to play, much like No Man's Sky, of course, but still feel a little bit lacking of depth. Both elements can be true at the same time. And this video is absolutely not a rant, like at all. It's just me kind of brain dumping some potential new additions to existing features that would be possible to take No Man's Sky to the next level. So let me give you a bit more of a concrete example, and let's start this video off by talking about settlements. When these first came about as part of the Frontiers update in 2021, it was huge. Inhabited settlements were something that a lot of No Man's Sky players were after for a long time. They're supposed to add life to the game, give NPCs more of a role besides just being physically present and not doing much on space stations and trading outposts, for example. It was expected that if these were added to the game, they would give us countless hours of new content, new quests, and as I said, they would make the universe feel more, alive, basically. And they did manage to achieve that, at least to some degree, because I got stuck into the settlements as soon as the Frontiers update dropped. I upgraded my settlement and managed it for a short amount of time before I basically got as far as I could, and then moved on to something else. The time it took for me to move on to something else after expanding it and upgrading it and whatnot wasn't as long as I was hoping for. So how would I go about adding more depth to settlements to give me a reason to go back to them or start again? Well, for starters, I think it should be possible to construct more functional buildings. It seems kind of obvious that settlements should have the ability to construct biodomes or even fields depending on the planet type where you can grow more crops and resources. How about adding ranches for certain types of creatures that you can look after and then they end up delivering you a steady supply of meat and other produce as well? I also think some missions and quests, say the ones that you can pick up on board the space stations, should point more towards settlements every now and again. In fact, whilst we're at it, those missions need a wider variety in general to add more depth to them because they're not the most interesting or difficult in their current form. Anyhow, I'm getting sidetracked. These missions could send you after, missing NPCs who could be hiding out a settlement. They could send you after unique resources only found at some specific settlements on specific planet types. You could deliver goods to and from said settlements, and so on. You could even have to defend specific settlements from significant threats, so not just a few sentinels, more pirates, sentinel walkers, something a bit more, difficult, because at the moment it's not hard. And I'm pretty sure some of you watching this will have additional things that you would add as well, but generally there is a lot that Hello Games could do to build upon the settlements feature to make them larger, more connected to other aspects of the game, and just more interesting in general to spend time on. I sure hope they add some depth to them in future updates. Let's move on to planet points of interest, and more specifically, the buildings that we can come across. So I'm talking about things like abandoned outposts, manufacturing facilities, trading outposts, and so on. To start off, let's talk about the variety of the appearance of them all, because, well, there isn't any really. There is no variety. Each abandoned outpost looks the same, each manufacturing facility looks the same, each trading outpost looks the same, and so on. Until recently, the same could have been said for space stations, so if we got a similar update for these on planet buildings, that would be a great start. I mean, it doesn't add any depth beyond a little bit of, well, aesthetics. So, what would add depth to on planet structures? Well, I'm going to rattle off a few ideas I have stuck in my brain for new buildings, outposts, and other stuff like that, so here goes. First one is underground facilities, or say deep mining facilities where we could tap into hidden underground resources, or perhaps underground bunkers on super harsh planets where we can find NPCs wandering around, similar to how we do at settlements. Maybe like a Fallout crossover, kind of that kind of vibe, you know? Fallout, what are they called again? Vaults, that's it. Anyway, we could also have water focused buildings or perhaps underwater buildings that we can visit, such as deep sea research stations, underwater settlements, or fishing ports, which are on the ground. This would also add some much needed depth to the oceans in the game as well. Now, you know, sometimes you'll see an outpost that comes under attack from pirates. I mean, it's quite rare, but it does happen every now and again. How about military outposts who are able to fire back at these annoying pirates? Or just military outposts in general, or even the ability for us to create our very own military or defense outpost to help keep our bases or our settlements safe from pirates and other hostile creatures. Just something a little different, you know? I would also like to see an expansion to the history aspect of the game. So you know how we can find ancient structures and all that sort of stuff? Well, they all look the same. So how about more ruins, more variety, more monuments, perhaps with settlements built around them who worship them, that kind of thing. These could be hooked up to the trading systems, like I mentioned earlier with settlements. I'm sure you guys will have more ideas on top of these and, well, all general planet structures. But adding just a couple of these would offer No Man's Sky players a fresh way to interact with the universe while both expanding the base building side of things and also making exploration just that little more rewarding because, well, there's more stuff you can find basically. Now, I know No Man's Sky was never designed to have any RPG elements in it, but how about a not so in depth skill tree of some sort for our traveller? At the moment, the only real things we can do to level up our traveller, I guess, is equip them with better technology components and increase our inventory size. Now, I know Hello Games are working on Light No Fire, and Light No Fire is going to contain RPG elements. So why don't they port a few of those ideas across to No Man's Sky? Now, I'm going to preface this to say I don't know the details of the RPG elements in Light No Fire. I don't think anyone does bar the guys at Hello Games yet. But they've already done the same thing with fishing. So if they gave us a skill tree which we could level up things in different categories like exploration, combat, trading, diplomacy, all that sort of stuff, it could give us abilities like, I don't know, faster ship repairs, increased inventory space, increased armor against sentinels, increased resistance to certain environmental hazards, increased stamina. Basically, you get the picture. I've never even thought of having anything like a skill tree in No Man's Sky, but even something a little bit that resembles one would be an awesome addition to the game. Let's talk a little bit about multiplayer because in its current form, it's a little bit minimalistic, really, isn't it? I mean, sure, you can do Nexus missions, you can see other people on the anomaly, you can see other people when you're doing expeditions, you can see their bases and all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't really go beyond that. So, how would I go about improving multiplayer if I was Hello Games? Sorry, if I were Hello Games. How about, I don't know, co-op base building to help us create larger, more complex bases? Or co-op fleet management where we can end up building an intergalactic armada of sorts to take on other players, and these could then be introduced into a new, I don't know, faction wars kind of multiplayer event. Kind of think that would be an awesome thing to do, come to think of it. In addition to these, we could have player driven economies, markets where you can get your hands on super rare resources or custom crafted items, perhaps customized starships, customized multi-tools as well. You can also set these up by allowing players to take over a space station using the existing space station override, which would add far more depth to that aspect of the game as well. I'm basically brain dumping all of my increase the depth thoughts at this point, but what do you think? Would you like to see any of those multiplayer updates? Or perhaps you have different ideas, and if so, leave a comment below letting us all know what those are. Moving on to space combat. In No Man's Sky, space combat isn't the best in the world, however, it's far from the worst as well. But I would like to see a little bit more depth added around it because at the moment I find it a little bit tedious, and maybe that's perhaps it doesn't really pose that much of a challenge. It's maybe controversial, but I think it should take a leaf out of Starfield's book because that has a lot more depth to it. For example, you can target specific components of any ship, so their shields, their engines, life support stuff. You can board enemy ships and loot their resources. It's significantly more difficult than it is in No Man's Sky. I mean, hell, speaking of boarding enemy ships, what about large ships in No Man's Sky when you can actually walk around them? That's another factor in itself, but it would certainly add a great amount of depth to the starships as we know them now. And I'd be all for that. I actually think ship combat is one of the things that Starfield's nailed on the head, as long as you ignore most of the rest of the game, of course. Sticking with vehicles, but taking it all the way back down to a planet's surface, let's move on to Exocrafts. Personally, I don't really use them all that much. Do you guys? I mean, either way, I have another brain dump incoming, how you could add depth to Exocraft as well. So here goes. How about more focus on Exocraft classes? I'm talking about, say, scout classes, which are lightweight and very fast, which could get around quickly. Another option would be those heavy duty ones like the Colossus, but with defense capabilities. And then perhaps another class could be a combat class. Can you imagine how cool it would be going around a planet in what is basically a tank or a space tank? I know I'd be a fan of that. I think it'd be great fun. And then you can even come across other players and have space tank battles. Or multiplayer depth for you right there as well. And now, obviously, ship building is a thing. Controversially, some people really don't like it because I like ship hunting. Anyway, enough of that. The same could be introduced for Exocraft, allowing us to build our own Exocraft and upgrade them with, say, awesome weapons, defenses, speed boosts, better terrain adaptability, and etc. etc. And to top it all off, how about Exocraft Racing? Nothing too extravagant, but just something a little fun, which could also, again, add to more multiplayer depth as well. To summarise all of this brain dumping I've just inflicted on you all, I would say there are a number of areas where Hello Games could add a lot of depth to already existing features instead of giving us something totally new but without much depth to it. Now, even adding just a few of these things I've mentioned in this video would go a long way to making that puddle all the more deeper. Maybe we can go as far as saying it could be as deep as a pool. Now, I would like to say they have already added depth to some areas already, so features like freighters with the ability for us to create bases on them. We've been given more base building parts, enhanced freighter combat, which is a good start. But I think it needs to keep going with these ones I've already mentioned in this video. And as I said at the beginning, this video is definitely not me ranting. It's literally me going over a boatload of ideas I've had in my head on how existing No Man's Sky features could be improved. I would love to see even a handful of these ideas come to fruition in future updates. Anyway, with that said, do you guys have any other ideas I haven't mentioned here around how to add depth to existing features? Or do you just have any thoughts on the ones I've put? If so, I'd love to hear those thoughts. And, well, please leave comments below letting us know what you think. And that is all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this brain dumping video. And if you are still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can also become a channel member as well, and as always, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.